Our subject for the next half an hour is pranayama. It's very important before we begin the breathing exercises to have a critical understanding of what we are doing. There is no real English word to describe prana, and the equivalent could be livingness. There's some quality of livingness in us. So when you're full of life, we say the person is full of life. When you're happy, and when you're depressed or low, you're uh, yeah. Uh, Vinay, can I please request you to put your device in silent? Thank you. So this quality of prana or livingness is what we are after. So we're not really after oxygen. We're after something a little more subtle. Now, pranayama is looked at in two different ways. Prana, yama. Yama means control, but that's a very narrow way of understanding the subject. Prana, ayama. Ayama means expansion, expansion of life force. When the levels of prana in you are very expansive, that's when you feel happy, healthy, vibrant, you feel like sharing. And today, so many people experience things like depression, sadness, anxiety, where the levels of prana are really low. This makes it even more interesting and significant for us to study. And before we go further, let's define pranayama according to the Yoga Sutras. Tasmin sati shwasa prashwasa gatiyor viksheda. Tasmin sati shwasa prashwasayor gati viksheda. What he's saying there is that pranayama is the retention of breath. And that retention of breath we call as kumbhak. Now, I'd like to sort of bring your attention to this, that this holding of the breath will not happen to an unfit body. Therefore, it comes one stage after asana. So in the yogic lexicon, once you've sorted out life, and you know all of this, I'm just giving you some insights so that we can start on the right footing. Once you can sit still, the next exploration is, how do I hold my breath? If I can hold my breath, I can enter into meditation. So the first little practice that we're going to do is something that we call Keval Kumbhak. Now it's done, generally, Keval Kumbhak happens in heightened states of awareness. You can put a hand up if you can resonate with this. Sometimes you've watched a sunrise, or you've done some charitable act, something nice you've done in life. And if you notice, the breathing would have just stopped. Now, what we do in yoga is we try to replicate that heightened state of awareness by stopping the breath. So yoga is predominantly somatopsychic. So you're trying to work on those states through the body. So I'm going to ask you to just do this, taking a deep breath, and just close your nostrils here so that we have an experience of Antar Kumbhak. I can't see any of you, so I'm just asking you to do it, and you can do it on your own. Breathe in, close your nostrils, hold the breath inside for 15 seconds. If anybody has very high BP, they can avoid that, else just keep holding. And as you're holding, you'll begin to notice that when there is no breathing, there is no thinking, and you can release and relax. So this is the fundamental reason why pranayama is in between the 8 stages of the yoga practice. Because once you can hold your breath, mind is blank, and that's a doorway into dhara and dhyan, the yogic journey. So with that in mind, now that you know the fundamental reason for pranayama training, let's get a little deeper. I would request all of you to never use the word breath work. It's too trivial. It doesn't convey the subject at all. It's not about breathing in and out. It's far, far vaster. It's about managing your life energies itself. The second experiment that we're going to do before we start off is to put your hand here, just under your nostrils, and check which nostril is dominant right now. So for me right now, the left nostril is more dominant, and for somebody else, it could be right. This is called as alternate rhinitis medically. And if this were not the case, if it was always the same, one nostril would have been enough. The reason we have two is because every 60 to 90 minutes, it shifts dominance. And when this shifts in a healthy person, you'll end up spending 12 hours in the left, 12 hours in the right. This gives the word Hatha Yoga. So Hatha Yoga is a balance of Hakaram right nostril, in the Chinese tradition, yang, or the sun or masculine energy, physical energy. And takaram, the left nostril, the, hatha, the Chinese tradition, yin, feminine, or lunar. So this balance, hatha yoga, so that is why pranayam and the pranayam that we do, anulom vilom, is fundamental to hatha yoga practice. The interesting thing here is that when they studied people in mental asylums, they found that they are predominantly left nostril dominant, 18, 19 hours a day through the left nostril. If you've ever been to a mental asylum, you'll see most people are not violent. They're just sitting. They're just sitting and thinking, thinking, thinking. Now today, there's so much depression in the world because we have too much mental energy and too less physical energy. And when they studied people in the prisons, they found that their right nostril is super dominant. Too much physical energy, eventually you become violent. So this balance is not important just for meditation, it's important for health. And before we begin the first practice today, I just want to bring your attention. If you've been to a doctor, you would have seen this, the symbol of medicine, the staff of Caduceus. We've got the stick and the two serpents. Those two serpents intertwine where the chakras are. So one ends at the right pingala, one ends at the left ida. So even medically, even in ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, it was understood that health is a balance of physical and mental energy. With that bit of a background, let's get into our subject. We're going to be looking at 3 pranayama techniques. So pranayama is done in 3 ways. You can energize, you can balance, or you can tranquilize or relax. So we'll get started with energizing work. And I'll first take you through a kriya. It's not a classical pranayama. It's a shat kriya or cleansing. We call it as kapal bhati kriya. So I'm just going to ask you to do this. Block the right nostril. And please practice with me. Block the right nostril and exhale 20 times out through the left. So keep going. Forceful exhalations. Your inhalation is passive. Active exhalations, 20 of them. If you've got a BP issue, high BP, you can stop at 10. Fantastic. Do the other nostril. Block out the left. Beautiful. Now, typically, you would then do both the nostrils, but we won't do that. We'll go straight to Bastrika Pranayama. So that was Kapal Bhati Kriya. The difference is that there, the exhalation is active, inhalation was passive. When we go to Bastrika, now, Bastrika means bellows. If you're familiar with the ironsmiths, they would have these bellows to force air for the smithing. Bastrika, the difference is that even the inhalation is going to be active. So you can do it with the hands. And then over the course of time, you won't even need the hands to move up and down. So initially, we use the hands just so that the lungs expand. But over the course of time, you don't even need to do that. And what you can do is, you can see the difference there. In Kapalbhati, I was just doing. Now here I'll do. Let's try that. So let's try 50 of these. If anybody has high BP, I'd say stop at 10. For everybody else, let's do 50. Let's start that together. You can close the eyes. And once the eyes close, they focus above the eyebrow center, Shambhavi Mudra. Generally, in meditation, you put the palms on the knees. If you're sitting for a long period of time, the palms up is symbolic, but it will hurt the lower back. So put the palms on the knees. It's easier. So let's try that. And let's go. 50 of those, please. Bastrika Pranayama. Typically, we would do about 100 and we do a few sets of 100. Today, we're going to be at 50, and I'm going to request you the last 10 to go rapidly. So, in and out rapidly. And now, just hold your breath. Breathe in hold, breathe out. Let's do this 5 times. Inhale, hold, exhale. It's very easy to do deep breathing now because you're already oxygenated. Inhale, hold, exhale. You're going to add one more element there. As you inhale, internally chant so, and as you exhale, hum. So this comes from the Hamsa Upanishad, where we are describing the sound of breath. So hum. So keep doing that. So hum. If you don't have a chant, then you might be breathing, but the mind's all over the place. So just keep the chant. So we've already studied Bastrika, and you can keep chanting as you listen. You can keep breathing as you listen. Bastrika Pranayama is fundamental to a lot of modern meditation techniques, whether it is Hattus living, whether it is Isha. A lot of them in shamanic breathing use this change, rapid change of breathing, and that sort of triggers different states of consciousness or different experiences in the brain. Beautiful. The next practice we're going to look at, we've already started it. It's called Sahaj Pranayama. So you're doing simple breathing. You're breathing in, holding, breathing out. The whole science of mindful breathing is based on Sahaj Pranayama, and we've now added the Soham chant. And if you can just watch what I'm doing, if I ask you to take a deep breath, if you're not trained, you'll end up doing. And if you can see, my nostrils are becoming smaller. There's in fact less air going in. And if I try to exhale, I'm done in hardly 2 seconds. So what we do there is we incorporate something called Ujjayi Pranayama. Ujjayi means victory. So you're going to constrict the epiglottis. If you're doing it for the very first time, you can even place your palm or your hand, fingers here. And when you breathe in and breathe out, you're going to make a guttural sound just by constricting the epiglottis. You won't need to use the hand later, but just if it's the first time, it will help you. I want you to make an exhalation with this sound. I'm not doing, it's not, the sound's not through my nose, it's because the epiglottis is constricting. Now that's fairly simple to do. The challenge comes in the inhalation. So when you're trying to learn this or do this, just visualize saying the word ha with the mouth closed while you exhale. So my mouth is closed, obviously it's not coming from the mouth, but just to facilitate a sound production, because they're not used to making sounds from here, you're just saying the word ha, not with the mouth do. And when you breathe in, try and say the word sa. Your mouth is closed. Now, what you'll notice immediately is that your breath length is becoming a lot deeper. Also, you're replicating a snore. And because you're doing that, you become very relaxed. Let's try that again. Inhale. Hold the breath. As we studied, pranayama is all about holding the breath. Exhale. Pause. There's a pause when the breath is out. And we start the second round. Inhale. Hold the breath. As you get better, you can hold for a little longer. Exhale. Pause. Third, inhale. In your mind, you're saying so. The eyes are focused on the eyebrow center. Hold the breath. Exhale. In your mind, you're saying hum. Stomach is going in and then hold once you've exhaled out completely. Fourth, we'll do 5 more. This is the fourth one. Inhale. Hold the breath. Exhale. Pause. Inhale. So. Hold breath. Hum. Exhale. Pause. I challenge you to do 3 more on your own without losing your mental focus. You keep the Soham. If you find your mind's going someplace else, you bring it back to Soham. We describe the mind as a kite and the breathing as the string of the kite. Beautiful. 2 more. And last. Patanjali says that it's through pranayama that you become capable of concentration. Immediately you're in a heightened state of focus. And the last pranayama that we're going to do is arguably the most important. And it's fundamental because if I try to sit in meditation with my left nostril open, as it is, I will be there and my mind will be racing because there's too much mental energy. And if I try to sit in meditation with my right nostril dominant, I'll feel like scratching, moving because there's too much physical energy. It is by balancing these two and when they negate each other that we say that the third, Shushumna, starts to get active. Now, this is fundamental for meditation to happen spontaneously. It's very important to remember that in yoga, we say that meditation should be a spontaneous affair. You train body, you train breath and concentration so that meditation happens. For this to happen, you need these two to be equated and balanced. But this happens every 90 minutes, but we're not paying attention. So sometimes you would have noticed you're sitting someplace, maybe an airport, wherever it may be. And for no reason, you're completely present. It is during this shift that you're completely focused. But we don't watch it, and therefore we miss out those opportunities. Anulom, Vilom. Now, it's called 2 things. Nadi Shodhana. Nadi or Nadi means to flow. So that's the meridians in the Chinese tradition, we call them nadis. Now, traditionally, Nadi Shodhana is done with the hands. When you get so good at it that you don't need to use the hand anymore, then we call it Anulom Vilom. So sometimes we call even the hand movement Anulom Vilom because it's a training for that eventually. This is the hand gesture. So the easiest one is to put the index and middle finger here and then to operate like this. But the classical one would be to bring the index and middle in. So you use this, we call it Vishnu Mudra. The weight of these two is the same as the thumb. So that is why we use this combination. It doesn't make a difference if you're doing 5-10 rounds, but over the years, as you do more and more, you want the perfect balance. So just watch my movement once. I start like this. Close, exhale, close after I exhale. And then inhale right, close and hold in, exhale left, close and hold out. So there are 4 elements: inhalation, purak, retention, antar kumbha, exhalation, recha, and external retention, bahar or vahya kumbha. So let's try this together. We're going to start with a very simple ratio. Typically 1 is to 2 is to 2 is to 2. Block the right nostril. And if you're doing a few rounds, it's nice to put the ring finger on the eyebrow center. But if you're doing many rounds, it might pain your hand. And you can just leave it here. Inhale through the left. Breathe in. Close both your nostrils, hold the breath for double the inhalation, 1:2. Exhale through the right for double the inhalation, 1:2:2. Now close your nostrils with the breath out, up to 2 counts. So 1:2:2:2. Inhale right. Close, hold your breath inside. Exhale left. Once the breath is out, close again. Second round, we're going to do 3 in all. Second round, in left. Lock and hold. Out with right. Lock and hold. In right. Internally you chant so. This is Purak. Hold in. Antar Kumbhak. Out left. Internally chant Ham. This is Rechak. Hold the breath out. This is Bahar Kumbhak. And do one more round by yourself. This completes half pranayama work. This last round by yourself. Keep watching the kumbhak. So whatever you're thinking as you're doing it just now, it should pause when you do the kumbhak. That means the breath is completely held. And that's a small doorway into dhyana. The word kumbhak means to retain, kumbh, pot. Fantastic. Friends, I thank you so much for joining me today. It's a short and sweet session on pranayama.